Hello, my name is Katarína Jurišová, and I'm an advisor to Deputy Minister at Ministry of Defense of the Slovak Republic. And also I'm a PhD student at the Comenius University in Bratislava at the Department of Political Science. And that was my little introduction, and I'm very pleased to take the panel on the PESCO, which is the center of my agenda, and also in the work at ministry, but also is my focus on my dissertation project during my university studies. And it's really great pleasure for me to lead this discussion for you, for the future European Leaders Fellowship. So I hope you will enjoy my presentation. As I said earlier, the PESCO is my area of my agenda, and I hope and I think you know what does that mean, what the PESCO means. It is a permanent structured cooperation, and it's about deepening our defense cooperation among EU member states. It didn't came out of nowhere. Actually, it is a treaty-based initiative, and that's why the former head of European Commission called it a sleeping beauty of the Lisbon Treaty. But I think very important thing is to say why do we talk about deepened defense cooperation in the European Union. Definitely the most important factor was the changed security environment in Europe, which started to change mainly in 2014 when the Ukraine crisis started and also the annexation of Crimea took place. But there is an arc of instability around the European borders. That does mean that there was increased instability in North Africa or in the Middle East. Also, the number of terrorist attacks raised in recent years. So people in Europe started to think about more their security, and that was also the political impetus for decision makers to increase the European defense cooperation. There are also some political reasons behind that, and one of them is definitely Brexit, which took place in 2016. And this one is important because one of the biggest military actors in European Union left the European Union already, and at the same time they were the biggest opponents of deepening defense cooperation among member states. Also, you can see in the picture still the current president of the United States, who came into the office in 2016 as well, and he started to be more vocal about Europeans to do more in order to secure their own security, and not to rely on just US as the biggest ally. And this was really, really important factor. And last but not least, the fragmentation and inefficiency in European defense is very common in current structure. So let's get to it. You can see in the picture that due to the lack of the cooperation in European Union, we have fragmented defense industry, and also it costs us very much. My favorite picture is the comparison of the US main battle tanks and the ones in European Union. You can see that they have just one type of main battle tank, while the US has 17. which is really, really too much, and it's not very interoperable and very, very effective for us. So there were several important steps towards launching the PESCO, because as we said earlier, it was already mentioned in the Lisbon Treaty in 2009, and the EU global strategy was a very important document in this way in June 2016, where European Union started to raise its level of ambition to reach the strategic autonomy of the EU. This is very not sensitive way, I would say, because there is no clear definition on what strategic autonomy means. That means that some EU member states like to mention this term, some of them not. But in general, it means that we should do more as an EU, as a global actor, but we should do it with partners where necessary. So the PESCO initiative was launched in December 2017, and from the beginning of the initiative, already 25 participating member states joined voluntarily this initiative without Denmark and Malta, and at that time also without UK. So we can see this initiative is very inclusive in its way. So in the words of Jean-Claude Juncker, this sleeping beauty of the Lisbon Treaty was awakened. So let's talk about very important thing, that who governs in PESCO. And it is important to say that member states are those in charge. They own and drive the process. So we have they need to have a consensus in council meetings. So they need to agree. Every member state needs to agree about other processes, and we will see it later in the presentation as well, why this is so important. And other relevant actors are, of course, the High Representative of the Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, who is Josep Borrell right now, and we can see on the slide also our former HR VP Federica Mogherini. During her term, the PESCO was launched. And also the PESCO Secretariat was established 3 years ago, but we need to say that this is not like new structure in the European Union. It is just based on already existing structures within the European Union External Action Service, including EU military staff and also European Defense Agency. So when we talk about PESCO, we talk about usually about commitments and projects. Commitments are very important because this is why PESCO is very different from other older defense initiatives. It is legally binding. Yes, as I said earlier, you need to when you join the PESCO, it's up to you. It's up to member states to join it. But when you join it, you need to comply with all these commitments which were agreed by all EU member states. So and another part of that is our PESCO projects. Usually when we talk about PESCO, you hear in news or in some articles, you can read that there are some projects. So there are 47 of them. Very important part is also national implementation plans, which are submitted by each member state annually, and then High Representative make an annual report on that, so we can see where the PESCO implementation is going. Also, this annual report is not for public eye, but that's why there is a council recommendation, which is assessing the progress made by the participating member states to fulfill those commitments. I just attached a part of our national implementation plan of Slovak Republic, which we submitted last year, and you can see that there is a table in those plans where we look backward when we plan something for the next year and then plan something for following years. So it looks like that. Also, there are some areas of commitment. There are 5 of them, which I really try to simplify the name of each area, because there is a bit complicated language for people to read. What does that mean? Because it's a really difficult one. So basically, it's about budgetary commitments, the planning, operational, which means missions and operations, implementation of planning, and also involvement of industry. It looks like this. So my budgetary simplification is actually that one in the table, and you can see also the real sentencing of the commitments. So in budgetary commitments, there is said that we need to increase our defense budgets, that we need to invest in modernization up to 20% of total defense spending, or we need to also invest in research and technology. The PESCO projects, there are 47 of them, as I said before. It is one of the commitments, number 17, which says that every member state should take part in at least one project under the PESCO framework. I think actually this is the only commitment which is complied by every participating member states in PESCO, because every member state is part of at least one project. There are states which are part of like 30 projects. So, and you can probably think it's mainly the bigger players such as France or Germany, Italy, Spain, and so on. These projects, I didn't make the list of them. You can find it on PESCO website, but they are in many domains, such as air, land, maritime, or cyber, training facilities, or even space. There is an example of military mobility as PESCO project. Maybe you heard about it, because it's really really topical today, also in NATO and also in the European Commission as such. But this one is the project led by the Netherlands, and its aim is to simplify our cross-border military transport procedures. That means that when we need to transport our tanks across the borders, for example, from Belgium to Latvia, it is not so easy. It takes time, and we need to make it more swiftly. And also we need to overcome some infrastructure problems, such as making or building the roads and bridges that can accommodate large military vehicles. So we need to identify those roads which are not able to do that. So this is the aim of this project, and actually every PESCO member state is part of it. Another important and very topical question is the question of third states' participation in PESCO projects. it took really 2 long years to negotiate this council decision. It was decided only recently, like 2 weeks ago, where states finally found a compromise thanks to German presidency in the Council of the European Union, that third states could be invited to our PESCO project. Why this is so important? It is important to involve all our partners who are able to bring some know-how or some added value to our project, so we can move forward in those PESCO projects. That is why I so emphasized that that those member states are those who drive the process, who decide, and if they don't, we cannot move forward in PESCO issues. So, and I need to come back to this slide. Why I did put these flags on the slide is because I think those are the biggest partners or biggest probably allies who would be very interested in participating in PESCO projects. Also the UK, because it's already left the European Union, so it's third state right now. There is also a PESCO strategic review, which is you can see I put the initial phases of the PESCO, which is actually the first initial phases ending right now. So it was the ideal time to look back and say what was done so far, what other progress do we need in near future, and try to set up some conditions on the second phase of PESCO. So what is going right now? Actually, there will be another council decision, and that should identify those areas where we need to do more, and how to follow in next years until the end of next phase. My personal thinking is that we will try to be more ambitious in next years and try to more focus on complying the commitments. Maybe look more on the ways how to put European Union defense planning to our national defense planning processes in every state, because this is a big problem very often actually. So we need to focus on the areas where are big gaps in this regard. And when we talk about PESCO, we need to think about it in more bigger picture, and that is that there are other European defense initiatives as well. For example, the EDF, European Defense Fund, the CARD, which is Coordinated Annual Review on Defense, and Capability Development Plan, CDP. So all of these tools have a common goal. So while CDP as the plan try to identify some gaps we need to fill during our defense planning. So it should identify the capabilities which we need to develop or modernize. And also CARD is very similar and very complementary to capability development plan, because it identifies collaborative opportunities among the member states. So then they can find or try to work on some PESCO projects proposals, and which are focusing on those capability development part, and also European Defense Fund. It's like financial support or financial for a project, and I will talk about every of these tools in next slide. So capability development plan provides some reference and a general orientation for a more coherent development of our European capability landscape. So there are some kind of, again, priorities in many areas, such as in air mobility, in space, in military air capabilities, or in logistics. For example, you can see that enhanced logistics involves military mobility, which I mentioned before, or maybe medical support, which proved to be very important during this COVID pandemic. So there are a lot of these areas where we need to move forward when it comes to capability development. And the card try to find those collaborative opportunities, and they are, of course, very similar to those areas which were mentioned also in capability development plan. So the card first cycle is actually ending right now, and during next defense ministerial meeting there will be first card report, which would identify those opportunities. And in the all card cycle is actually based on card on member states making some reports to European institutions, to European Defense Agency, to the Commission, and then they have usually bilateral meetings where they talk about those priorities of the member states and their planning, and they put all member states information in one document basically, and then we have like the whole picture of the capability landscape in Europe which is needed. The European Defense Fund is a part of multi-annual financial framework for 2021 to 2027. So it is just for the first time in history that defense is part of the European Union budget, and there will be 7 billion euros for these 7 years. That means approximately 1 billion euro of annually. It is not so much because the initial proposal by European Commission 2 years ago was talking about 13 billion euros, so it's much more less than we expected, but we need to do with what we have. What is its aim? Its aim is to finance research and development phases of the projects, and the collaborative projects are very important because the collaborative means that this is not just for one state, but you need to collaborate at least with one other state. So this is the condition for to be eligible to get funding from the European Defense Fund. And also there are other phases in the project. That means acquisition or procurement, and that is in the hands of the member states. So it is not like that the project will be financed, like the whole project would be financed by European Defense Fund, but just a part of it. and the most money would go to research, so some studies of the project and the basically initial phases of the project. What is interesting, there is a PESCO bonus of 10%. So if the project is under the framework of PESCO, it should get finance bonus of this 10%. But what would lead us to the conclusion that this is not only about financing PESCO project, but also for other collaborative projects not in the framework of PESCO. There is also ongoing financing program, like pre-program before EDF will be launched from the beginning next year, and that is called European Defense Industrial Development Program, where are 500 million euros allocated for actually for the last year and for this one. There are still some calls open, and I think until the beginning of December. So the projects are still applying for this fund. And the European Peace Facility, I didn't mention it before, but I think it's good to have a picture about what is going on, because a lot of new European Union defense initiatives were launched in these recent years, and EPF is one of them. Though it is not totally new, because it is built on already existing mechanisms such as Athena and African Peace Facility, and it's about financing of the EU operations and missions abroad. And so this one is actually not part of the EU budget because it cannot be, because it has defense and military implications. And also one of the novelties in this European Peace Facility is that we will not only train some foreign forces, for example, in training missions in Mali or Central African Republic, but we will also give them some weapons or some equipment. So this is very important thing, because this is also in this regard that EU wants to be a bigger player in the world, and also in these areas of these missions and operations, and also it has geographical aspect. That means that it will be not only focused on Africa, as African Peace Facility is, but it will be applied globally. That means that we have the ambition to go to other parts of the world where it is necessary. So we have one picture where you can see which countries participate in these formats, in the format of EU, NATO, and PESCO within the EU. I still have the UK put in the green table of the EU, but we know that it will be in the blue one right now. So because it's not a part of the EU anymore, but clearly you can see that majority of the EU countries or the PESCO countries are part of the EU and NATO as well. That is clearly seen. So that is why NATO and EU cooperation is so important. It was also strengthened in recent years, mainly due to joint declaration of NATO and EU EU representatives in Warsaw and Brussels. These two declarations emphasize that we need to be complementary in what we are doing in the sphere of defense, and we need to avoid to duplications which are not necessary, and we have to focus on some areas which we have in common. That is the military mobility, already mentioned. There is a flagship of our cooperation. And also, we actually strengthen the European pillar of NATO by doing this this initiative or these projects and capability development in PESCO. There are 7 cooperation areas. You can see hybrid threats, the operations, cybersecurity and defense capabilities, defense industry and research, some common exercises, and also supporting Eastern and Southern partners' capacity building. These 7 cooperation areas are also followed by 74 concrete actions which we are focusing on. There is, every year is actually kind of report, EU-NATO report on EU-NATO cooperation, which evaluate progress reached so far in these areas. So you can, I think you can Google it as well. And so my main final remarks would be that this enhanced defense cooperation among EU member states means a lot in when we talk about development of defense capabilities. Also, when we talk about the reducing this inefficiency and fragmentation which we have in our European defense. Also, we try to increase interoperability of the member states' forces. That is very important for NATO and EU as well. And we try to be more able in EU to act swiftly and as a global actor, mainly in missions and operations. That's why we need to develop the capabilities in the PESCO framework, for example. And that is why these capabilities, which will be available for the EU member states, will be available also in the NATO framework. So this is the clear example of complementarity, and that is the strengthened EU means also the strengthened NATO. And I didn't mention it before, but the debate about EU army is it looks like it is not possible in foreseeable future because the intergovernmental approach or intergovernmental cooperation between member states is the core of the defense integration right now in the terms of European Union. So we need to first focus on our capability development. We need to invest more in our armed forces, which is actually doing basically in every member state, and also the evidence why we do not talk about the EU army is that we are not creating new structures. There's no new EU institution or a new EU structure which would have some added power. So it's still in the hands of member states, and it's upon them to move forward in the European defense integration. PESCO became my agenda actually from the beginning of the PESCO 3 years ago, and well, for my personal experience, I could say that within our countries and within the ministries of defense in the EU countries, we meet a lot more than before, and we really established much closer relations among ourselves, and I strongly believe that that there is a lot of space for other young people to be interested in PESCO issues and to work on it, because there is a lot of work ahead of us in the near future, and the PESCO will be there, I think, for a long time. So hopefully we'll be colleagues one day in this matter. Thank you.